Welcome back to KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. This morning we're discussing juvenile justice reform. So just last week, the state of Nebraska implemented a new law dealing with putting kids and teens in secure detention. This new law went into effect July 1st. It does not allow a juvenile to be detained unless the physical safety of someone is threatened. They can be detained if there is some concern they won't show up to their court hearing. Important to note, though, a child 12 years old or younger will never be placed in detention. The law also clarifies that a child or teen cannot be detained to allow a guardian to avoid their responsibility, to punish, treat, or rehabilitate the child, give administrators more access to them, to allow further questioning or investigation by police, or due to a lack of more appropriate facilities. So this is going to result in a lot of kids that will end up in more programming. And here to talk about it today are some experts in this field. Joining us now are Tiffany Murphy and Peg Harriet with the Child Saving Institute, and Kenny McMorris, the CEO for Charles Drew Health Center. Thank you all for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Kenny, I want to talk with you first. What role does Charles Drew play in programming here? How are criminal offenders who are kids, how are you helping them?
Yeah, so at Charles Drew, we are actually a primary health care facility. So we provide primary medical, behavioral health, and dental care. And so specifically in this area, we're looking at how do you integrate mental health and behavioral health in the overall well-being of the young person. We know that young people and families as a whole, when you have a level of connectedness, you give yourself an opportunity to be successful here. So a lot of the work that we're going to be doing is really going to be focusing on family, the family unit, and the constructs that constitute that. How do we build resiliency within those young people? How do we provide support system in a community setting, in a comfortable environment to make sure that the young people have their best opportunity for success here?
Kenny, I think it's so interesting that healthcare is a part of this conversation, because really we know that we are at our best as people when we are healthy. And so to have you guys as part of this conversation means that maybe healthcare is a bigger issue in communities that are involved in the criminal justice system than we realize, right?
Absolutely. We believe it's the root issue. I think that if we really look at a lot of our health problems and challenges that we have, it all stems from where are we doing mind, body, and soul. And so again, I think that this opportunity that we have in front of us and the organizations that are collectively doing the work are really looking at how do we transform this in a more intentional and thoughtful way.
Tiffany, I want to talk to you about therapy over punishment, right? So this new law went into effect, and really that's kind of where we're moving this conversation to. How does that work for Child Saving Institute? How are you guys involved in that way?
Well, basically, every youth that comes through our doors, we adjust our programming to meet their need. So it's not punitive whatsoever. We make sure that every need that they I guess have at the time, we're able to meet that with therapy. If it's school issues, we can meet it with the school. You know, we have a liaison that works with the school and stuff too. So I mean,
No, I mean, there's a lot to it. Peg, I did want to ask, I mean, if more kids now are coming out of DCYC and away from detention and into programming, that means that you're going to have a lot more kids showing up at your door. How do you handle the volume that you're going to face?
Well, we're learning.
Yeah.
You know, the news has talked about the reception center, and
Right.
that's part of what we do. And we have not been flooded with kids coming through the reception center yet.
Okay.
Which is an ideal opportunity for us to figure out what's going on with the child,
Sure.
how we work with probation, how do we work with the police, to make sure that the child gets what they need, and that we connect them with the family and figure out what's going on with the family as well. So we haven't been over flooded with calls.
Yeah.
The shelter only has 9 kids at any one time. So there's a max there of what we're able to do for the shelter.
Sure.
and the ultimate goal is every youth goes home. That's our ultimate goal. We always have the family involved in making sure that we meet that goal.
So let me talk to you about that. You know, some critics of this approach, right, would argue that maybe there are some situations where the home isn't the best setting for the child, right? Something's going on there that has led to this behavior. How do you deal with that reality?
Well, it's a big reality.
Yeah.
Some kids can go to kin, so they can go to a grandparent or a godparent or an aunt or an uncle and get the support and services they need there until either the parent can meet the needs of the child or it might be permanent that they live there. But unfortunately in the state, we have kids who are in need of foster homes, and we do not have enough foster homes to serve teens, and particularly teens who've lost their way. They need an adult to help them get back on track. Anything out in the public that folks can do to get the word out that we need more foster parents would be wonderful, particularly for teens.
Sure. In this conversation that we're having about juvenile justice reform, you know, there are some kids who are part of the system, and we just heard Chris talk about it. Like, you know, 15 to 20% of the people at DCYC probably need to be there. Is there any role for rehabilitation and programming for some of these kids that we would consider violent offenders? How do they factor into this conversation about rehabilitation?
Yeah. So I would say every young person has an opportunity to change.
Yeah.
And so when given that opportunity and resources, and again, being more thoughtful and intentional about what that means and catering the resources to really meet them where they are in an environment that makes them feel safe, you increase that likelihood of them being successful. And so while you may have the higher level offenders and their level of severity may be a little bit higher, that intervention and that therapy and that treatment needs to be a little bit more intentional to be able to get them where they need to be. We should never turn our back on any young person. They've made some mistakes. In some cases, they end up being violent as a result of it, but they still deserve an opportunity.
I would definitely have to agree with that. I do not see any youth as a bad youth or a bad kid or anything like that. They have made poor choices.
Sure.
They maybe didn't have the right guidance. Teachers to teach them.
Yeah.
And I see that as where we fall in as being the teachers for them, to teach them the right path.
Tiffany, let me ask you this. Do you think in some circumstances today, there are kids who end up in the juvenile justice system who maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago did something similar and wouldn't have ended up in the juvenile justice system? Is there kind of a determination to involve law enforcement right out of the gate on things that didn't used to be that way?
Yeah. I mean, just thinking of myself personally, I know I probably would have been in the juvenile justice center.
Yeah.
You know, just off the things that I did. But I had the right, you know, people to get me back on track. But yeah, absolutely, I would have to agree with that.
Let's talk about the funding portion of all of this, right? I mean, you guys have been doing great work in the community for decades, you guys as well. How do we get to the point where all of these programs are funded in the way that they need to in order to address this new reality of kids being diverted from DCYC into programming? Is that something that you're having to deal with?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And probably the best programs in our community are a public-private partnership.
Absolutely.
And that's what's going on for the reception center. It's a mix of public funds and private funds that are making a new plan for kids and getting a better future for them.
And those level of partnerships allow for innovation, allows for creativity, and again, you learn along the way. And I think when we go through anything like this, you're not going to bat 1,000 right out of the gate, but you give yourself an opportunity there. And so I think a lot of the work that's happening now is really, again, going back to connectedness. Partners are working in ways that we haven't historically worked together, and we're starting to see the interconnectedness on a lot of the services that are being provided here.
Quickly, let me ask you that question. When did that happen? When did that partnership start to form? I mean, a lot of people have been doing work separately for a long time. When was, okay, we all got to do this together?
I don't think it was a light bulb moment where you just woke up and just said, hey, this just needs to change. It's been over a period of time. I think that we've learned to work better across our silos. Education is working better with healthcare. Healthcare is working better with employment and in different areas. And so we're starting to realize that you got to take care of the whole person, the entire family. You can't just deal with one issue.
All right, Kenny, Peg, Tiffany, thanks so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you.
So we touched on the Child Saving Institute and Charles Drew Health Center. There are other programs available where the juvenile justice system can send kids and teens. That includes the Omaha Home for Boys, which is developing new services and programs right now. Utah Holly also has housing available, and there's also planning in the works for a juvenile behavioral and mental health treatment facility. That will be huge. Before we take a break, a reminder that your comments are an important part of this show. If you want to be heard, email your comments to news@ketv.com. Remember, we love hearing from you, and we do read those comments. We'll be right back.